two, come, let's go. I said, run, 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 two, come, let's go.
Welcome back, everybody. Appreciate y'all coming in. Definitely appreciate it. Appreciate the one that's liking and subscribing, and hitting me up. So, good looking. This is part two. This is part two of a three-part series. The first part was about the ABCs of behavior. You know what I mean? The antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. So that's part one. Part two, we're talking about how society, government, individuals, people in authority control your behavior. This is actually techniques or philosophies or theory on how they control your behavior. So the media plays a part. We talked about that. We talked about how the people in government, they play a part. And of course, law enforcement. So we're talking about how they control a society's behavior. Now, part two. We're going to go a little bit deeper. I just laid the foundation. We'll be a little bit more dramatical on this one. I kind of like to stay even keel sometimes, so people could get the message, but sometimes I could go over the top. But anyway, today we're going to talk about problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution. Now, everybody in the world know what a problem is, because everybody in the world, that's lived a little bit of time has been through one or two. So a problem could be anything. The main thing a problem does, any problem that you can name, the main thing that these problems have in common is they create stress. They create stress. Sometimes they create fear. Sometimes they create anxiety, and they could even create depression. Now, in order to come out of your problems, is many different ways, and this is not what that's about. What we're going to talk about is the problems that are created in society, the things that are put into place to cause stress, the obstacles that somebody or some entity or some society puts in place on purpose to get a specific reaction, so they can create the solution. But in all honesty, they had the solution the whole time. They start the solution before they create the problem, because the solution is part of their agenda. It's part of what they want. Not for the betterment of us, not at all, but for the betterment of them. Now, when we talk about problem, reaction, solution, it's a Machiavellian type of strategy. It's the strategy of creating a crisis or a problem, waiting for a call for action to resolve that crisis, and then taking action, the solution, supposedly in a response to help you, but it's really to further the agenda. I don't know who they is. Do your own research. But all I know is it's happening, and it's happening to all of us. And it's been happening. As we dive deeper, we're going to get a little bit more into that. But right now, we're going to focus on this. So, problem, reaction, solution is a Machiavellian strategy that they create a problem. They look to resolve the problem. And the solution is supposed to be a betterment. COVID-19. I'm not saying where it came from. All I know is it came out of nowhere. COVID-19 is the problem. The reaction is everybody's panicking. And the solution oh, we want to give you these vaccinations that certain people and certain entities own. Because if you look it up, the virus I talked about, I ain't gonna keep saying the name, but the virus I talked about has a patent on it. Look who owns the patent. A patent is when you create an invention and you register it with the government and say, hey, I own this. Nobody could copy this. So if you do some research, you will see that the 19 virus has a patent on it. Check out who owns it, and then check out who wants to have us vaccinated, which I'm definitely not taking, you know. So it's a money ploy. At the end of the day, it's a money ploy. They talk about that foreign country where all of our, do you know 90%, 80 to 90% of all our antibiotics come from overseas in one particular country? Do you know that? Did you know that, hey, did you know that your Jordans come from over there? It's an American player, but that's where they come from. But anyway, I ain't mean to go down that side trail. But, yeah. So the country that's manufacturing the virus is in cahoots with the organization that actually helps validate the vaccines. And they own the patent with somebody else who invests in the organization. So it's a, you know, you connect the dots. That's just one example. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of examples and be like, this is conspiracy. It's not. Listen, I'm only giving you information. I'm the motivational, inspirational, informationalist. Key part at the end, informationalist. I go do some research and I give you some information. You do with it what you want to do with it. Now, that's just one problem. We've been having problems for years. We've been having problems with drugs. We've been having problems with unemployment. We've been having problems with, I mean, there's so many things we could go over just in our community alone. And these problems been created. You know what I mean? You could do your research in the inception of us being here or existence in this country under somebody else's mandate, because we was here first, if we was the first people. But under somebody's mandate, we started out in a crisis. We started out with a problem. So, again, this is focusing on how society shapes behavior. See, what we got to realize as ordinary citizens or individuals just trying to move and shake and do the best we could do for our family, what we have to understand is, for our existence, it's a war. We're literally in a war. From the time that we born in this country, it's a war. We already got stripes against us. We already don't supposed to make us. We already got prejudices. We already getting counted out. We in a war. Now, when we talk about wars, you can look at any war in history. And when you at war, if two countries are at war, or two people are at war, or two tribes are at war, you gotta have an army. You gotta have an army. I'm not saying we at war in the sense of trying to take over anything, but I'm saying if it's a war against us, we at least need an army to fight this war. How can we align with the people that's against us? I'm not saying all them people bad, but what I'm saying is, based on history, we have been done bad by these people in particular. Although it's other sprinkles put in there as well. You know what I'm saying? So, also, when we talk about war, you gotta have an army. But another thing the Army has to have, duh, they have to have weapons. I'm not talking about going to get guns and knives and bullets. That ain't only what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the day-to-day war. The weapon is the mind. You have to be sharp. You have to have some type of knowledge on as far as something that you're interested in or something that you're doing to be able to navigate and excel in it. You know? So you have to have weapons. Another thing you have to have, duh, is a plan. You have to have a plan of attack. Without a plan, you're not going to win. Without a plan, you're not going to win. And without an alternate plan, a plan B or a different strategy, you're not going to win. Because the plan you make, you got a 50-50 shot. If it fails, you need a plan B. What are we doing? What are we doing? We at war. We ain't got a plan. We ain't got an army. We ain't got a strategy. We are splintered everywhere. Remember I talked about splintered in the other video? Of people that are splintered are weak. We're splintered. And in these splinters, we don't even have an army. We don't even have leadership. You know what I'm saying? Back in the hood, you know, back in the day, it was OGs of the neighborhood. We're not talking about gangbangers. We talking about, in my neighborhood, we talking about individuals who had a lot of street experience that can help you navigate and help you get through the struggles of the city or the struggles of the hood to try to get out of there the best way they knew how. So at least we had people that held other younger people accountable. Today, ain't no leadership. It's all these Indian chiefs running around. And ain't nothing wrong with having a lot of chiefs, but if ain't nobody following nobody else's good lead, all these chiefs are doing what they want to do. Therefore, there's no order. And in today, I'm not just blaming young folks. I'm just saying what's different. In my time, like even now, I still say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am to older individuals, that's older than me. Some, I'm not going to say all, some of the younger generation are beating up the older adults. I'm talking about the older adults that's like 50, 60 that ain't into drugs and stuff like that. They disrespecting them, all of that. Even some, not all, of the younger generation is totally disrespecting their parents. I'm not saying it's all their fault, but what I am going to say is in order to get respect, you got to give it. So you got to be doing for the kid to get the respect and earn it in different ways, but that's a whole nother subject. We ain't got an army. We ain't got a strategy. We ain't got a plan. We ain't even got weapons. I'm not saying we're not capable of getting them, because for those that's actually making it, they the people that's gathering this stuff. They out here gathering information. They putting together an army, a good teacher, a good counselor, a good, if their parents ain't good, a good uncle. They assembling their team, especially if they on sports, they got coaches. So they assembling the army for their life. They also creating a strategy. When I finished high school, then I could go here, then I could take this in college or whatever. I could go get a trade and get into the. At least they got a plan. At least they got a plan. They got people in place. They got an army in place. And the army that's in place, the professional team, creates a success strategy. See, that's what we do in behavior. When we face with a problem from a kid, the number one thing we do is observe. We observe to see, okay, what is this kid doing? Not just in that one environment. We'll go to the school, we'll go to the house, we'll see them in their natural settings without them even knowing it. And their parents give you permission to do it. So you observe the behavior over 3 different environments. And once you record a similarity in the behavior, then you time the behavior to see how long they've been doing it. What's the duration? How long have they been doing this at school? How long have they been doing it in the park? How long have they been doing it over Uncle Jack's house? Whatever. So in the behavior world, at the end, once we observe the behavior, then we put together a strategy, a behavior plan, and we come up with a solution. And it's not just Like for me, it wouldn't just be me. It would be me, the psychologist, the psychiatrist, his doctor, the parents, you know, my colleagues, my subordinates. So it's a collective. It's a collective in the behavior world for this person to be held accountable and to learn things. Because if I'm not doing my job helping the person better their behavior, you know, I'm doing them a disservice. And they will ask for somebody else's services. So if individuals in life ain't giving you what you need to dismiss them from being part of your team to create your success strategy. And lastly, we have to come together as a community. We have to come together as a community. If we don't do that, man, we're going to have some successes, but it's going to continue to be the same way it is. And that's not what we want. We have to come together as a community. Lastly, what I want to say is before any of this is going to work, you have to find out who your opposition is. You have to find out who the enemy is. Me being black, it's not necessarily all white people. I met a lot of good white people. I work with a lot of good white people. I got close associates, close friends. I got, colleagues, My school experience had a lot of white people. The first time I ever been on a boat with a motor, actually the first time I ever drove a boat was when I was 16, one of my white friends. I like fishing, growing up in the hood, fishing in a little pond with a stick and a string. I'm going to school. He was talking about going fishing. He asked, do I know how to fish? I said, of course. He said, yeah, okay. Well, meet me at my house and we could go fishing on my boat. I said, yo, what? Yeah, he said, on my boat. Now, we teenagers. Now, I know teenagers, hustle and struggle and work to get them a car. This cat already had a boat. You know what I mean? So the first time I ever got on a boat was from my white friend. First time I ever hunted was with him. He shot a deer with a bow and arrow. First time I seen that. We not shooting deers in the hood. We shooting us. So I had two different experiences, but we're going to talk about that another time. Now, you have to know who the enemy is. Sometimes you got several enemies. In a lot of cases, if you look at history, us black people, we got multiple enemies. It's not the whole race of people, but it's some. But at the end of the day, they still an enemy. White people got other white people that's their enemies. So I'm just saying, you need to know the enemy. We need to find who our enemies are, develop a strategy, get the weapons that we need to succeed. What is our weapon? You hear it on different, TV shows, different people's podcasts or whatnot, but it's the truth. Our weapon is our buying power. We got $1 trillion buying power. We hold companies up. $1 trillion is enough to fund a whole country. It's countries out there whose gross domestic product is less than $1 trillion. We like a country within a country. The problem is no leadership, or the leadership get corrupted. I need a lot of these young boys to come up. Come on, homie. That's why I'm doing this. I'm doing whatever I can to help this younger generation get strong, to try to help my kids so they could be strong. Our kids, so they could be strong. It's just so sad that, again, I do a lot of history, I do a lot of reading. You know, back in the day in the 20s, instead of striving to be drug dealers, instead of striving to be, you know what I'm saying, a pimp, they were striving to be engineers. They was being engineers, creating some of the stuff that's here today that other people done took over. And we'll talk about that another time. But they strive to be the best in flying, engineering, carpentry. They built whole houses, from the masonry to the gardening to roofing. They wanted to be the best. They had skills. Skills. We got to get that back. And we can't wait on them to say, you're mandated to go to this school. We got to get it. And for those that got it, we got to pass it down. I remember I used to have a lawn care company. It was small. Had to do what I had to do at the time. But it wound up growing to a point like I could have just not had a job and did that. But that ain't what I wanted to do. So I sold my accounts to other people and went with my passion. To this day, when I help these kids and when I help them try to change their life, I give them the blueprint that I use, that I know that work that's been proven. This is where you get your lawnmower from. This is how you get started. This is how you do your marketing. This is how you approach people. This is what you can do with your mailers. This is what you can't do with your mailers. Should you get bonded? What other jobs can you take on? What could you subcontract? I'm helping these young people get started. And they call me to this day, any questions they got. Or do I know some people that's looking for work? I pass it along. That's how I'm giving back. A lot of people walk the walk. I'm out here in the war. I'm in the trenches daily. That's how I eat, being in the trenches. I'm not just at these good schools. I'm at these charter schools. I'm at these public schools, the worst of the worst. I'm at these prisons, these halfway houses. Every day, psych wards, daily, trying to help, getting tired. Come on, get this knowledge, homie. Get this knowledge. I've been doing this. Been doing this over 15 years, hard. From helping homeless, to drug addicts, to drug dealers, to killers. All in the same day. That's just a part of a caseload. You know what I'm saying? I done helped thousands of people, thousands. I got pictures with them. I get letters from them. Matter of fact, I'm going to read you a poem one of them wrote to me expressing how they felt about us. But to top this off, we got to put that stuff in place. It ain't no shoulda, coulda, woulda. We got to put this stuff in place. And for the people watching, listen, we need to start documenting our history now. The same way they documented history, and it's in the books, we need to document our own history. There ain't no reason why we ain't got no professional documenters in the hood, professional documenters, the documenters in the higher societies. Come on, y'all, for real. I don't care how rich you are and you black. You got poor people one cousin away, 100. So come on now. We got to start not just Pete Diddy and these other stars. I ain't mean to name drop. But just people that's making a difference in these communities. We got to start documenting this stuff to pass it along to the next generation so they'll know everybody ain't going to be the star. Everybody ain't going to be the known person. But the little things that they did. You know what I'm saying? They could pass that along so another person at least have a blueprint. We ain't even have a blueprint. Because my mama and them didn't have a blueprint. We got to create blueprints. We got these now. We got something between our ears, something between our temples. Let's use it. So lastly, I just want to say we got to put these things in place in order for us to get strong. We cannot keep waiting. We running out of time. If we don't give it to them, how they going to get it? We running out of time. So that being said, we're going to get to part 3. So make sure you tune in for part 3. But problem, reaction, solution. That's how the second way that they control behavior. The first thing ABCs was talking about individuals. Now we're talking about overall behavior of society, cities, countries, to create a chaotic climate, to have the solution. That being said, y'all, I just want to let y'all know I appreciate y'all's time and I appreciate your attention. Till we meet again, till next time.
Run to, come, let's go. I said, run.